edition of Portland Today. You know, the kids are back in school in a lot of districts. Of course, that means homework. Some schools, lately, the trend is a lot of them backing off on how much homework they give to students. Some schools altogether say no homework, and some are still doling out the same amount. So we wanted to talk about the impact that has on the student and the family as well. So we brought in Julia Silverman, the editor of PDX Parent Magazine, to kind of talk about this topic. Good morning, Julia. Thanks for being here.
Good morning. Thanks for having me. And questions?
Yes
comments?
or no, should we have the homework? Should the homework
The big
be happening?
question.
Well, look, as the mother of 2 elementary school students, they started 3rd grade yesterday. I'm a big fan of the middle ground, which is homework optional, and make it a decision that is for each family to consider. And that's something that you're seeing more and more of in local elementary schools, both public and private.
So you're saying in the classroom, some kids would do the assignment and some wouldn't.
Right. So in 1st grade, I'll use my family as an example. I've got boy-girl twins. In 1st grade, it was mandatory homework, and my son had a fit every week when it was time to do the homework, an hour of crying before he would finally do it. Daughter, no problem. 2nd grade, it became optional. And Ellie did it each year. In fact, I brought her homework journal with me. It's awfully cute.
That is very cute.
And Ben skipped it. And instead, we said to him, okay, buddy, you got to read for half an hour a day on your own at home. And this year, yesterday, the first day of school, kids get a packet. This is what's going to happen this year. And the word is no homework at all. Everybody just read. You just have to make sure your kids read at night.
That,
Now
I
I'm
think,
going
is
to go.
becoming the trend. This read.
Yeah,
Don't worry about the other stuff in school.
Fantastic, but I got to play the devil advocate here in the old
Please.
school mom, which is, aren't you giving the kids at that young age too much control? I don't want to do it, so I don't have to, or I can do something else instead. I don't know.
Like, how does that play out in life?
Right.
How does that play out in life when you
then-
look down the road?
So there definitely are people who have brought up this same concern that we're missing out on instilling a work ethic in our kids that they really need, like giving them the sense of responsibility. I guess I'd push back a little bit on that and say that school has become much more academic. I mean, you know what they say, right? Like kindergarten is the new 1st grade. These kids are sitting more than you and I used to in school. They're learning more at an earlier age. They're faced with standardized testing. And there is an argument for, hey, after school, they need to be able to blow off some steam. The other counter to that is that oftentimes kids are doing a lot of after-school enrichment classes. And so, I know my kids are in robotics and they're in, an art class. And so they
All learning
continue the
opportunities
learning
as well.
after school.
I guess my feeling is let the teacher be the guide, and maybe if the teacher decides that it's for the welfare of the entire class.
Well, I feel like if you have a child, I'm just guessing, if you have a child who comes from a home where the parents are not as involved, which happens, right? You have some parents that are too involved, some parents that are not involved enough, they're very laid back. I mean, that kid is probably going to have the option to never do the homework. I would tell you right now, I have pretty good students, twin boys, but if I said you never have to do homework unless you want to, they would never do the homework. I saw it happen in the summertime.
They're like
hey
their
guys,
dad then.
There are some math things you can do this summer, there are some reading things you can do this summer. They did none of them until we forced the hand.
So here's what I'd recommend. If you're a parent and you want your kids to be getting more academic enrichment after school, there are some really great websites out there like Khan Academy. It's Khan. They have terrific leveled math lessons. There's Duolingo, I think it's called, to teach a language to kids. So there's a lot of technology that you can use to kind of fill in that gap. The other thing that often a lot of schools do is and we are going to be doing this year, are family projects. So I brought an example. This is something my son did do last year. He built a neighborhood in 2nd grade in Portland Public Schools. They study neighborhoods. Now, my husband may or may not have been up till 11 o'clock at night painting the neighborhood. I will tell no tales. But that is a great form of homework, I think, because it kind of brings in the whole family. And we got to talk to the kids about really what they were learning, as opposed to just, okay, sit there and do your math worksheet.
Julie, I'm just curious. We heard about, over the last couple of years, schools around the country banning homework altogether. Are there any specific schools or districts here that we can talk about?
There are, and I wouldn't say that it's a ban so much as it's often a principal decision, but look to districts like David Douglas School District, I think the Park Rose School District, and interestingly, it's often districts that have a higher number of non-English speaking students or immigrant families, particularly because they have found that the homework can be a huge stress on a family that is trying to make its way, and they really want to encourage family members to get out and spend time together at night, run around with your kids, play tag, be present, read a story with them instead of having a fight over homework.
You
I
know,
like the math sheets, by the way. Sorry.
the math sheets, you're a
because
big
you know what?
fan.
Here. I don't have to think. This was the math sheet given to you by your teacher. Do it. Hey, create a diorama on Lewis and Clark's expedition to Oregon. Hello, now we're going to Michael's the craft store. Now we're all sitting around. Now I got to think about how to help you. No, math sheet. Do it.
Do it. And we should say you come at this from a perspective of PDX Parent Magazine, where you're the editor, so you sort of looked at this overall, and
We
you
did.
also come with it from the heart of a mother
Absolutely.
who's experienced
Absolutely.
it.
So that story's in our August issue, which I think is still out there, and keep an eye out for September too.
All right. Thanks so much for
Thank
coming by,
you.
Julia. Appreciate it. Happy school year to you and the kids.